Be amazed at what your body can be.
Hey YouTube, how you doing? Getting stronger? Good. Alright, well, I heard you guys want to talk about creatine. You want to hear about my take on the supplement creatine. First off, personally, I have gone through so much gains from creatine. They haven't been magical by any means, but I know that when I start taking creatine that I feel a certain little extra bit of power from it. So I do find that there's positive benefits of taking creatine, and I think that every athlete should take creatine. So I'm just going to dispel a few myths that I've heard from buddies that want to take creatine, but they're a little bit scared because they think that it's going to hurt them in the long run, or that doctors or parents have told them that it's going to damage their kidneys, stuff like that. So creatine myth number one, the fact that creatine is going to cause your muscles to bloat up and fill with water and not real muscle. This is totally not true. Any athlete, talk to any athlete, legitimate athlete that takes creatine, the gains in muscle and strength from creatine are consistent and they're not made of just water. It's caused by strength. And if you look at the science of creatine, it makes sense. Creatine is a compound that mixes in your body, in your muscle, to create ATP, which it produces power. So the more creatine you have, the more power you're going to exert, the more you're going to be able to tear the muscle, and then they're going to build up faster and become stronger in response to that stimulus. But I will warn you though that creatine, it will give you a couple extra pounds of water at the start, maybe 2 to 4 pounds, because the compound creatine in the muscle actually causes water to become absorbed into the muscle cell. Okay, creatine myth number two. The fact that creatine gains are only temporary, and once you stop using them, you're going to end up losing all those strength and muscle gains. Okay, this is totally not true. Again, talk to any athlete that takes creatine. The gains from creatine are consistent, and they're going to stay there. The only thing that you will lose eventually is that 2 to 3 pounds of water you gained at the start. But really, that doesn't matter anyway. And from a 20, 25 pound gain, a couple pounds of water lost isn't a big deal. It's only going to make your muscles harder anyway. And finally, the most controversial and probably the most scary creatine myth number three. Creatine is definitely going to damage your kidneys. That's what a lot of doctors say. It's going to damage your kidneys in the long run. This is a very controversial topic, and it's a little bit ill-informed. There's been no studies that prove that creatine causes kidney damage. There's been no studies. There's been studies where people have been taking up to 20 grams of creatine per day for up to 5 years, and there's been no correlation. However, there have been some studies that say that creatine use increases the amount of creatinine, the byproduct of creatine, in your kidney. So again, I want to say that straight up. The study just showed that creatine use causes an increase in creatinine in the kidney. Now this is pretty obvious because creatinine is a byproduct of creatine. So if you're taking extra creatine, you're obviously going to have more creatinine in the kidney. And because of this correlation, scientists or some doctors say that creatine causes kidney damage. This does indicate that creatine use does cause your kidneys to work harder. Now this doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing unless you have a pre-existing kidney condition. So if you and your family tend to have a lot of kidney disorders, then you may want to get this checked out. Make sure your kidneys are in healthy condition. But some scientists say that because people with kidney conditions will be hurt by creatine or could be hurt by creatine, that the general population shouldn't take creatine. And this does not make sense at all. This can apply to any situation. Think about people with heart conditions. People with pre-existing heart conditions shouldn't be doing a lot of exercise because it can stress the heart out. So does that mean that the general population shouldn't do exercise? That doesn't make sense at all. Exercise is very healthy for the body and it's important for an active lifestyle. The same with creatine. Creatine is fine to use unless you have a condition. So that's a disclaimer there. So I get a lot of questions on creatine about whether you should load or maintain it, what the dosing strategy is. Basically, here, I'm going to show you a diagram of your muscle. Okay. So this is the normal person's muscle cells. And the orange juice is the amount of creatine inside them. The average person only has about 60 to 70% capacity filled of creatine. So what I recommend is a loading phase. What you're doing with the loading phase is you're doing 20 grams of creatine per day for the first week, and what you're really doing is filling up the muscle to the top. You're bringing the muscles with a full capacity of creatine. You're saturating the muscle with creatine, and this is going to allow you to have more power in your workouts. From there, after that first week, what you're going to do is called the maintenance phase. And that's where you just take 5 grams of creatine per day post-workout. So after every workout, this is what it's like. As you can see, there's a little bit of creatine that was used up by the muscle. So during the maintenance phase, as you add 5 grams of creatine to your diet per day, you're just filling it up to the top again. There's no need to load anymore. It's already full, almost full. Just filling it back to the top, and then after every workout, it's going back down, you add a little bit more. So that's how creatine works. So to recap, it's a 20 gram per day loading phase for a week. And I usually split up 5 grams 4 times per day for that first week. And then after that, it's the maintenance phase, 5 grams per day post-workout. So taking creatine. It's very important when you take creatine, first of all, to have a lot of water. Make sure you have a lot of water so the whole amount of creatine gets dissolved in the compound or in the solution, gets dissolved in the water. And what you're doing basically is making sure that all the creatine molecules are fully absorbed and dissolved. The reason why you want it fully dissolved is that if some particles aren't fully dissolved in the water solution, they're going to start absorbing water from your body. And this is where it can cause a bit of dehydration and cramps in the muscle. So you want to make sure that when you take creatine, you have plenty of water that you put into your solution. Right now I have about 2 cups of water. Then put a teaspoon of creatine in the solution, which is about this much. Put that in the solution, make sure it's fully mixed in. And what I love to use with creatine, you can drink it with water, but I use something called glycocarb. You can use something else, it's a dextrose. And what it is, it's a very high in glucose. Usually glucose isn't a good thing, but when you're taking creatine, it's very important that you spike your insulin levels. And how to spike insulin is you use a sugary source. And the best kind I found is dextrose, or the brand of this kind is glycocarb. So you put glycocarb inside the solution, a scoop or so, inside the solution. And what it does is it causes an insulin response in the body. And insulin is a compound that really stores molecules around your body. It stores sugars, and it really puts the creatine, it channels it into your muscles as quickly as possible. So you would take this post-workout, again, to make sure that it's fully dissolved. Put it down tight in your shaker cup. You shake it up, make sure it's fully dissolved into the compound, and you're ready to go. Creatine, it's safe, it's going to make you stronger and more muscular. Take it safely, and you're going to enjoy the results. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel to find out more great tips, as well as check out my website at NathanStrength.com to learn more in-depth articles about the science of bodybuilding, body transformation, gaining muscle, losing fat. Thanks so much, and remember, dedication leads to results.